Well, this is the last go around for this thing. It was here for a good time, not a long time, and there weren't a lot of good times given that we were 2-7 or 2-5 going into this game in this jersey. But boy, did tonight make up for it! Holy moly! Vegas Golden Knights win 6-2 to cap off a rather lackluster homestand over the Washington Capitals. Now, the Washington Capitals aren't a bad team, but this game kind of got off to an interesting start in terms of the Capitals' perspective, as the internet kind of, blew up this morning when we found out that Alex Ovechkin missed the morning skate. I mean, he's Ovechkin, he's in Vegas, he was probably hungover after partying. And so I didn't think much of it. That was until we get to the start of the game, and all they're talking about is that there's no Ovi tonight. So, I mean, if ever there was a night to take out some frustration on a team that's already down enough and already doesn't play great defense as it is, if ever there was a game for the Golden Knights to kind of kickstart their offense, which has been lackluster for the last 3 games, with, the first 3-game losing streak of the season, if ever there was a time to break it, it was tonight. And boy, did it not take very long for the Golden Knights to get started, as just 2 minutes in, it was pretty obvious that the Golden Knights were the better team. Quick odd man rush from the top line again, just like how they had against Detroit, and just like against Detroit, Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson, Riley Smith still can't seem to convert on a goal, which is really frustrating for them because they've looked really good the last 4 games. But ultimately, they get that early fast break, nothing happens, no shot. Everybody's worried that, oh boy, here we go again. And then a few minutes later, get into fast break, neutral zone turnover, quick passing play into the zone. Chandler Stevenson takes a pass from the middle of the ice, rings it off the crossbar behind Capitals goalie Darcy Kuemper, and it stays out, even though Kuemper thinks it's currently stuck underneath the back post, so he's not really fast to get over. And the puck bounces over to a player who I think is long overdue for a good game, and ultimately even a goal for that matter, as he's got the most games played on the team this year without scoring a goal. That comes in the form of Alec Martinez, and he doesn't miss from right there. Low circle, wide open net, and bingo, bango, bongo, Golden Knights are up 1-0 on an Alec Martinez bomb. So aside from a culturally insensitive Toronto Maple Leafs fan from back in November, Martinez wasn't really done with getting in on the action on scoring here in this first period, as 5 minutes later, he would be part of a group with Paul Cotter, who breaks up a Capitals rush into the offensive zone for them, where Cotter breaks it up and Martinez pokes the puck up to Jonathan Marchessault, who kind of goes flying into the zone 2-on-1 with Nick Waugh, feeds it across the ice to Waugh, who fires it about 1/4 of an inch off the ice the entire way, just past the outstretched left leg of Darcy Kuemper and into the back of the net. So the Golden Knights went 5 games with only leading for 2 minutes total on this homestand, have scored first now twice, and they just doubled up their lead in the form of a Nick Waugh goal, his 9th of the year. And so Marchessault gets an assist, and Alec Martinez gets another hardworking but also very minute assist, as he was 200 feet away from the puck when it went into the net. But that's a 2-point period for Alec Martinez, getting his first goal of the year and getting an assist on the Waugh goal. The reason I'm beating Alec Martinez over the head for having such a great first period is he was my rep for the Sin Bin Pizza Points game tonight. So what I thought was off to a great night for Martinez, and don't get me wrong, it was an incredible night on the score sheet, still wound up not being the highest scoring Golden Knight, which is mildly frustrating, but hey, I'm not going to complain. I got points on the board. I'm still way out of it, but who cares? And ultimately, the Golden Knights were the dominating team throughout the entirety of the first period. They didn't really surrender very many shots against. At one point, they had 3 times the number of shot attempts as the Washington Capitals late into the first period. And I think we were out shooting them like 9-3 at one point. It was pretty bad if you're a Capitals fan. And there were a few of them in the Fortress tonight. But ultimately, the one thing that was really interesting is that Logan Thompson actually looked really, really good early on in this game. Sure, we had the 2-0 lead pretty early on, and that's usually enough to make a difference here in the NHL. But that being said, Logan Thompson still had to make a couple of really good saves early on in the game. Primarily on moments that in the previous stint of the 3 games, they would have scored. The other team would have scored for sure. as it would just be a neutral zone or defensive zone breakdown that would lead to their first clean shooting lane for the opposing team. And 9 times out of 10, those were beating our goalies in the form of Thompson and Hill. But tonight, especially in this first period, Logan Thompson was able to stand strong, make those saves when he needed to, and ultimately pitched a clean sheet through the first period. So going into the first intermission, 2-0 lead for the Golden Knights. It was a rather dominating performance, and obviously everybody in the Fortress was very happy as they finally got to see the Golden Knights actually set up a transition offense. Now, ultimately, this is the NHL. Teams are going to adjust going into the second period, and that adjustment actually wound up not happening, as it didn't take long going into the second period for the Golden Knights to extend the lead out to 3 in the form of Michael Amaddio's 7th of the year from Chandler Stevenson. Now, this was just another really solid play. It came off of a 1 offensive zone draw. At this point, I was listening to the game on the radio because my TV stopped working, and all I heard from Dan Duva was just talking. Stevenson to Amadio, score! Which was quite the surprise, given that, I love Dan Duva on the radio, but he's got to be a little bit more descriptive sometimes as to what leads up to a goal, as I still haven't really seen it other than it was a 1 face-off draw in the offensive zone, tic-tac goal. That came 2 minutes 15 into the second, and that's 2 periods in a row now where the Golden Knights have scored on their first shot of the period. So that's pretty good. Second period kind of entered a bit of a holding pattern. Sure, the Golden Knights were dominating play, but they weren't really getting the offense that they were showing for it. And ultimately, it was just kind of a weird neutral zone chip and chase, but the Golden Knights were still dominating the game. The Capitals couldn't really get in any offensive zone sustained pressure. They couldn't really muster anything. And then ultimately, before you could even blink, 10 minutes had passed and not a lot had happened in the game. And one player who I barely even knew existed before this season started, before this last injury bug hit, in the form of Byron Froese, said, you know what? I don't like this 3-goal lead. Let's stretch it to a 4-goal lead. And that's exactly what he did at 12:04 of the second period, when he basically took it off the right post, off the back of Darcy Kemper, and in the goal for his first goal with the Golden Knights, first goal of the season, first goal in like a year and a half of professional hockey in the NHL, and only his 7th career goal despite playing nearly 600 professional games in his career. He's looked really good recently. He had that point early on in the homestand where he rang it off the scary side of the crossbar down, and I think Nick Waller, Keegan Colasar picked up the goal on that line. I think it was like 2 or 3 games ago. He's looked really good defensively. He's looked solid offensively. He's gotten more and more comfortable with that system, and ultimately he was finally rewarded for his efforts. And so I'm sure he got on the plane to Arizona feeling like $1 million man, as he had more points in this game than Jack Eichel did. Funny how that works out. On any given night, anyone can score, and it would appear as if on this given night, everyone was scoring. As right after this goal, Darcy Kemper was given the hook and replaced by Charlie Lindgren, who took over the net for the Washington Capitals. And it didn't take long for him to get introduced to the new scoring prowess of the Vegas Golden Knights at home. I know that's funny to think about. That's funny for me to even say, as we haven't scored jack all year at home, and yet here we are putting up 4 in the first half of the game. Soon to be 5 in the form of Paul Cotter basically undressing Lindgren on the first shot that he would face in the whole game after coming in relief. It was essentially just a forehand, backhand move that no one expected. It was a turnover. Cotter got the puck in the middle of the ice. Everybody thought he was going to shoot forehand. Even I thought he was going to shoot forehand. Then he pulled it back to his backhand and slid it through Lindgren's 5-hole into the back of the net to give the Golden Knights a 5-0 lead. So, according to hockey great commentator Doc Emmerich, this game has been over for a while. This game was over when the Golden Knights put up their 4th, and then when they put up their 5th to go up 5-0 at home, one would figure that the game would kind of calm down a little bit, and that makes sense. Unfortunately, though, the Capitals do break Logan Thompson's shutout streak as TJ Oshie scores from Gustafsson and Strome at 18:12 or 18:20. Boo, I know. There was a time in my past life when I was still a St. Louis Blues fan where TJ Oshie was my favorite player. This was around the 2014 Winter Olympics when he, did the shootout thing against Team Russia, which was incredible. And so I always am glad when he scores. It's a little less painful. But, I mean, it helps that the game was 5-0 at this point, and you can kind of let games get away from you at 5-0. And so it was very clear that the Golden Knights probably weren't going to pitch a shutout on this one, but still, it would have been nice to at least gotten through the period without giving up a goal. But ultimately, that marks the end of the second period. The Golden Knights are still dominating play. They're still the best team on paper and the best team on the ice. The Capitals are sorely missing the person of Alexander Ovechkin, because they are, and I don't put this lightly, abysmal on the power play without him. They had a couple of opportunities through this point and ultimately weren't even able to generate much of an opportunity on them so far going into the third period. And the third period, as did the first period and the second period, went the way of the Golden Knights from start to finish. Now, something happened in this game that I don't think I've ever seen. I know it hasn't happened in Golden Knights history before, but on the first shot of the period for the third period, Paul Cotter slid it between the legs of Charlie Lindgren, forehand, backhand again on a low to middle feed from behind the net from Keegan Colasar, and who got the puck from Waugh. And so that made it, 6-1. But the real subtext of this goal is that's the third goal that we've scored this game on our first shot of the period. We scored on our first shot of the first in the form of Alec Martinez, first shot of the second in the form of Michael Amadio, and now our first shot in the third here in the form of Paul Cotter. And if we really want to extend it, we scored on our first shot against Lindgren. So really that we scored on 4 first shots in the game. And I don't think I've ever seen that before. And I don't think I'll ever see that again. Cotter with another 2-goal game. The last time he had a 2-goal game was against Boston when we beat them to snap their home winning streak in the shootout a couple months ago. Colasar picks up an assist. Waugh picks up his a billionth point of the game. I think he went up with a 3-point game, which was incredible for him. He's been really quiet recently, and then he's played a couple of really good games in the last month, especially coming back from injury. He's definitely warming up again. He's definitely getting back into the swing of playing NHL hockey, and he's a great player. He makes that third, fourth, whatever line you call it that normally has Will Carrier on it work really, really well. He's basically becoming a really solid day-to-day NHL player, and the team definitely needed him to start producing it. So a 3-point game, even though it was a rout, a 3-point game for one player is still really solid. I honestly can't fault him for anything he's doing, and all I got to do is sing praises. But ultimately, that put the game really, really, really out of reach. Another 5-goal lead in the form of 6-1. That goal coming 4 minutes into the third period. And then from that point on, the game was over. So both teams slowed down. Both teams decided to try and not have any injuries. I'll come back to that in a minute. And ultimately, the last thing that would happen is Marcus Johansson would score on a high tip from Van Riemsdyk and Kuznetsov. This was in garbage time. There's 6 minutes left in the game. Nobody really cared at that point. The game was over. So the game went final at 6-2. But there was a scary moment towards the end, and I, even in the process of writing this out and getting ready to prepare to do this, I'm still not entirely sure what the lasting ramifications of this is going to be. With about 30 seconds left in the game, Braden McNabb blocked a shot and went off the ice in a bit of a hurry, and then immediately went down the tunnel, followed by the athletic trainer holding his hand. It looks like he took a slap shot off the hand, and I can only answer this as a goalie, wearing essentially Kevlar vest attached to my wrist. If you catch a puck in the wrong spot, it hurts like crazy. And I can't imagine what it would be like to take a slap shot with a normal player glove on, especially if it caught it on the wrist. So I haven't checked if he's in the lineup for tonight against Arizona. And obviously we won't know, as that game's not for another 7 hours. But hopefully he's okay. The last thing you want in a blowout like this is to lose one of your best defensive defensemen in a garbage time shot block with 30 seconds left in the game. Where if he hadn't blocked it and it had gone in, we would have just won the game 6-3. So hopefully nothing bad happens as a result of this going above and beyond the Call of Duty. Sure, his stats love that. That's a free shot block. But hopefully it doesn't keep him out for the game against Arizona and at worst, it doesn't keep him out later on down the line going into this 3-game road trip before the All-Star break. Or at least I think it's 3 games out through the Eastern Conference. But just to recap, final score 6-2. Vegas Golden Knights finally score first. They finally play with the lead for having a lead for 5 minutes for 2 minutes in the previous 5 games. They had the lead for 57 minutes in this game. and it seems like the offense is coming back. I would love to see the top line get a little bit more involved. Eichel's been really quiet. Stevenson only picked up 2 assists and no goals. So I really want to see that top line really get into it. I know Amadio was on the top line for this game, so I can't really say the top line didn't do anything because they wound up being responsible for the eventual game-winning goal. But still, I would love to see our best players play like our best players. I know it's hard without Mark Stone, but they got to find a way to push through, get some production, because as much as I love depth scoring, third and fourth line like we got in this game, that's not always going to be reliable. And so we got to get some more reliable scoring, especially from the guys who get paid the big bucks. And so goals from Eichel would be awesome. The best bit of news that we've got out of the last couple of days, regardless of scoring outcomes, because obviously this win is the best piece of news, is that Brett Howden's going on the road trip, Shea Theodore's going on the road trip, and allegedly Zach Whitecloud's going on the road trip as well, meaning that they're close to coming back, at least the first 2. Whitecloud's a little bit further off, and that might just be a little bit more of a shining optimism as opposed to, a fact. But honestly, this game might be the turning point because, they've been really, really average. The Golden Knights have over the last 2 months, basically being 500 since the middle of November. So hopefully this game is the turnaround, especially with the rest of the Pacific Division kind of, getting blown out last night. That definitely helped. I think we're back into first place. So maybe a game against the Capitals at home and then going into Arizona tonight, going into Mullet Arena, and hopefully picking up 2 points there like we're supposed to is a good way to get going, try and build some momentum. If you can kick off a 5-game win streak or win 4 out of 5 going into the All-Star break, honestly, that's kind of the best thing the Golden Knights could hope for. And so that's 1 down. There's 3 games left, I think. 3 or 4 games left before the All-Star break. So if we can just win the majority of those games going into the break, let Thompson get a break, go to the All-Star game, have fun, let the rest of the guys get a break, recover from injury, come back from the All-Star break excited and ready to go, and push for the playoffs. But that being said, there's a lot of hockey left to play. We got Arizona up here in 7 hours, and we'll see how that goes. If you'd enjoyed this video, I know I did it a little bit quickly. This is a little bit more impromptu because I didn't watch the whole game, so I just talked in broad strokes instead of nailing down one particular event like I always do. If you enjoyed it, comment, like it, subscribe for more, as I'm back, obviously. That's 2 videos in 3 days, or 2 videos in 2 days. I know this is unheard of for me. But, comment down below if you are a fan of this retro jersey and you're sad to see it go. Goodness knows I am. This isn't the last time I'm going to wear this jersey. I love this thing. It is the coolest jersey we've ever had. It's my favorite one. So I'm definitely not going to stop wearing it. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys probably tomorrow for the Arizona game recap. Thanks.